Hey guys, this is Eliot Marshall, former UFC fighter, and this is the Gospel of Fire, where we're going to go through the fire and learn the best way to live our life. All right, everybody, episode 9 of the Gospel of Fire. I am here with the current, you know how these UFC rankings go. 1 week you're 7, the next week you're 20. Yeah, not really 20, but, you know, 1 week you're 7, 1 week you're 8. You know, no rhyme or reason. My man, Neil Magny. What's up, Neil? How are you?
Not much. How you doing?
I'm good, man. You got a big fight coming up, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty exciting one down in Brazil again.
I hate you.
I mean, you get freaking fly miles off me, so it works out to your benefit somehow.
They sent my travel though. It's Delta, man. I don't have United. Man. Neil travels. Neil likes these long ass travel trips. He likes to leave the country and not like Canada, like London. Or last one was Liverpool. Now we're going to Brazil. He wants to go to Argentina. He's going Indonesia or some shit. Where'd you go? The Philippines. Philippines, Australia, all over New Zealand, all over the fucking world. And normally the UFC books us on United to travel out of the country. And my businesses have a United card, so I just rack up frequent flyer miles so I can always get to upgrade to first class for nothing, for a couple $100. I mean, it's an easy answer for me. They sent me my travel and all of it was Delta. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm going to go change all of my business credit cards.
Come to the back of the bus with us. You'll be okay.
No, man. I always offer you my seat, too. I always offer. Neil won't take it. It's it's right up past. He's like, no, man, I'm going to suffer back here. Not be able to sleep. And I'm just like, man, fuck that noise.
Well, it's kind of a waste. I mean, I'm sitting in first class. I can't eat anything. I can't drink anything for the entire flight. So I'm just sitting around with people just stuffing their faces. And I'm just like, oh, that looks good. And it's making myself more miserable.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I'd rather sit in the back and know it's going to be a miserable flight. I get there and I can deal with it then. But to watch people eat for 10, 8, 12 hours, whatever it may be, no, that's not fun for me.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I never thought of that before, Neil. That's a solid point. So let's talk a little bit about just your fight first. How do you feel about this? Alex Oliveira, the Brazilian cowboy, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I feel good about this fight. I mean, a lot of people say things like, oh, you deserve someone that's a little more high ranked or this or that. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. I mean, I have an opportunity to go out there and compete. And Alex Oliveira is a good fighter. I mean, my biggest win in the last year was Carlos Condit. And he pulled the classic move here, watch this, hold my beer. And he went out there and finished Carlos Condit. So to me, that's the guy I want to fight. He showed me that he's a tough, durable fighter that can put on exciting fights. So I want to go out there and put on an exciting fight against him.
What was this nonsense that he met you in an airport or some shit that I saw?
Oh, my God, dude.
What was this?
It's getting ridiculous to the point. People are always looking for this drama to try to sell a fight or whatever else it may be. I mean, the fight's booked. We're in the middle of the card. We're not a co-main event. We're not a main event. The fight's already booked. There's nothing you can do except fight and make it exciting in order to get more press at this point. And this guy's going out saying that he met me in an airport in 2015 and I was standoffish. I didn't approach him the way that he would like to. And I was like, dude, are you kidding me? I can't remember what I did yesterday. And now you're bringing up something I did in 2015.
Bro, I said hello to you and you don't speak English. What else is there to say? Oh, my man, nice to see you. Give him a thumbs up?
Yeah.
He doesn't speak English and you don't speak Portuguese.
Yeah, there's nothing I can say to the guy, but for some reason he thought I was being standoffish.
Because I don't even know if you speak English. You speak this broken Haitian English that we half the time can't understand.
It's pretty funny. Once you get used to me, you better put it together. But most people usually just smile and nod when I speak, and at the end they ask me to repeat what I just said. But
you say something important, and then they're just smiling and nodding. You're like, no, that wasn't happy funny. That was serious.
Yeah, you get used to it after a while.
Man, let's talk about your UFC career a little bit. It didn't start out the smoothest, I would say, right? Would you agree with me?
Not at all. I mean, I got to the UFC and I was like, here it is. I made it. I quit my job. I left the Army. I turned down the police academy, moved to Colorado. And I was like, dude, I made it. I'm in the UFC now. Life's about to change. And the first year, it wasn't the case at all. I thought I made a mistake moving to Colorado. I thought I made a mistake quitting my job and leaving the police academy and all this stuff. My first year in the UFC was a pretty rough one, to be honest with you.
You won your first fight.
Yeah.
And then you lost your next two.
Yeah.
Right? One on the Army base in Knoxville, right? And the next one was in Brazil, right?
First one is in Brazil. The second loss is in
the Army base. Okay. I got that backwards. So 1 and 2, especially coming off the Ultimate Fighter, that normally can get you released. Things didn't work out like that for you.
No, not even close.
Not even close, you know? But I think a lot of people did for it. I think some of those guys went 1-1, like won one, lost one, and got released.
Yeah.
You know? And you have been able to turn that around. What do you attribute that to?
Honestly, just like me believing it's going to work out at the end of the day, even though I was in my lowest, like my first year in the UFC, I got kicked out of the place I was staying at, had a falling out with a gym manager, had all this stuff going wrong. And somehow
that's while you were here in Colorado.
Yeah,
right?
While I was in Colorado. And at this point, I'm like, I'm jobless. I barely have any money in my accounts. My credit cards are overdrawn and freaking maxed out. And I'm living in a freaking office while I'm in my first year in the UFC. So at that time, I was like, dude, what am I doing? Like, I definitely felt like I made the wrong move, but I literally had to hold on to this little bit of hope, a little bit of faith that, like, you know what, things are going to work out still. Like, it literally seems like the end of the world right now, but somehow it's going to turn itself around. And that's what I pretty much held on to at that low point.
It's got to be more than that. It can't just be, for a lot of people, it doesn't turn out.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I have to be honest with myself. When I was 1-2 in the UFC, I was like, I have to find a way to make this turn around. And whatever it was that was going to happen to me, I was willing to make it work out that way. I went as far as taking a Denver police exam. I was like, you know what? Maybe my career in the UFC is over. Maybe this is the new route I have to take now in order to get my life back on track. I have to go back to law enforcement. I was ready to like make whatever sacrifice or change that was needed in order for me to turn my life around. I held on to this bit of hope, like, all right, maybe fighting is not over for me just yet. Maybe whatever would work itself out and I'll still be around. But I was ready to just pretty much go with it. Whatever was willing to happen was going to happen. I was ready to take that step and make it happen.
I think I can remember a specific time, and we laugh about it now. After the second loss, we were sparring, and I don't even know what happened. I just saw you run off the mat, you know, quickly, walk into the back, and I followed you, and you were sitting on the washing machine crying. I told you this wasn't going to be just like yay, I'm fighting in the UFC. I'm number 7 in the world. You know, I don't know if you've listened to my podcast, but it's not that. So what was that? What were you feeling when you were sitting on that washing machine?
That was emotions getting the best of me at the time. I mean, here I am at a point where I'm thinking, oh, you know what? My UFC's over. I'm maybe getting cut right now, to like getting that phone call from Joe Silva saying that, you know what? We'll give you one more shot. You have another fight coming up. And I'm like, all right, cool. This is it. I'm going to put all my eggs in this basket. I'm going to make it work. And I'm just in the gym getting my butt kicked this day for whatever reason. And it's not like I was getting my butt kicked by someone who's so far better than me. It's like a guy who I normally just beat the crap out of day in and day out. But for some reason this day, he was getting the best of me. I'm just like, dude, I just can't figure this out. Like, why am I getting my butt kicked right now? And at this point, it's probably round 3 or round 4. And I'm like, all right, whatever. I get my butt kicked all this day. I'm ready to go one more round. And at this point, Eliot's like, no, dude, you're done. You're not having a good day. You're only going to make this worse for yourself. You're done. I'm like, no, coach, I need one more round. I want to turn this around. I need one more round to go out there and turn this around. You're like, no, you're done. And I'm just like, but I want to do it. I want to keep going. You're like, no, that's it, Neil. And I literally storm off like a toddler having a tantrum. And it's like, storm up to the back, go to the laundry room, sitting on the washer, just crying. And at the time when I look back on it now, I felt like that was just going to be the end of my fighting career. Like, I was like, if I can't beat this guy who I used to beat day in and day out, how am I going to make it in the UFC? And I wanted the opportunity to like show that I could. And I just wasn't going to get it that day. And it was frustrating me. I just couldn't figure it out.
I think a lot of times when this pressure comes, you know, like you knew this was it.
Yeah.
Right? Like you weren't going 1-3 and then staying.
Yeah.
Like people don't quite understand what that's like. You know, this is your dream. You have everything sitting right in front of you. And we're not talking about a world championship. If you're fighting for a world title, you've made some money. You know, like right now for you, you know what I mean? Like this fight, it's very easy. It's a little easier, right? It's not going to make or break your life.
For sure.
You created something. You've created some financial stability. You're married. You have a lot of other things going on in your life. But at that time, that wasn't the case. You had nothing, right?
Yeah.
You probably didn't even have a girlfriend, right?
I literally had my dog and office that I lived in. Like, I had my little Hyundai Sonata and my dog that I lived in the office with. Like, it was literally a rough point.
You lived in Nate's basement, right? In his office?
No, so when I first moved out to Colorado, I moved in with Nate Marquardt. I stayed in his basement, and it was great. Like, that was literally one of the best experiences of my life. I can say living with Nate Marquardt when I first moved out to Colorado was like going to basic training for how to be a fighter. I've learned all types of things, from supplements to dieting to budgeting to how I'm supposed to handle taxes. Like, it was a great opportunity to live with them. But at the same time, I was 25 years old. I was living in another man's basement. I was like, you know what? I want to get out and live a little bit.
He had kids, right? He had like three kids at the time, all under 5. You know, like there's no 25-year-old life living with Nate Marquardt, right?
For sure. I mean,
we're not knocking Nate. Like there's no 25-year-old life living with me. Like you're not coming in and out of my house at 3 a.m. Fuck you. Get out.
Yeah, for sure. It's like I have to respect this house and live under his rules, things like that. And it was great. I love his family. I love his kids. Like all that stuff was great. But at the end of the day, being 25 years old, I want to go out and live a little. I want to have a nightlife. I want to enjoy where I'm at in life right now. And living in Nate's basement and having respect for him, I just couldn't do it.
Right.
So that gave me the sense of urgency to want to move out. And I had an opportunity to move out and move into a fighter house at a gym I used to train at. And long story short, some things happened there, and I ended up getting kicked out of that fighter house because the owner and I had some differences, didn't see eye to eye, and that whole thing fell through, and I had to move out. Well, at this point, I haven't worked for 6 months, and only thing I had for financial base was my first UFC paycheck. And for those that don't know, it is very difficult to get approved for an apartment at 25 years old without steady income coming in. I was literally putting in application after application for apartments and was getting rejected. And then finally, I had a friend who was like, hey, man, I know it's not the best situation, but I have an office that is pretty empty right now. And I'm currently working on the house that if you can find a couple of buddies, we'll rent out to you. And I was like, dude, I'm desperate. Like, I'll live in the office for now and see where that goes. And that's why I ended up moving in for a while.
Yeah, so, now back to the fight. So you're living in an office. You're crying on my washing machine or dryer, whichever one it was, because this is it.
For sure.
Right? This is your dream. This is your dream. Your dream is going to get summed up in the next 6 weeks or however long away we were from the fight.
Yeah.
In 15 minutes. You had 15 minutes to change your life.
For sure. And
what's that like?
It was pretty difficult, but once I got put into it, when I was in there, I was just like, this is it. I got to fight tooth and nail. It was literally, I remember listening to this motivational speaker, and he was giving this story about a guy who's like, hey, if you want $1 million, meet me at the beach tomorrow or something like that. And at one point he holds the guy in the water, and then he's just like, what are you doing to me? What are you doing to me? And then finally the guy jumps up, was like, how bad did you want air? And the kid was like, I wanted it pretty desperately at that moment. I could think of nothing else but air. And when I think about that moment where I was 1-2 going into my 4th UFC fight, that's what I felt it was like. I was fighting for air. I was like, there's nothing else I want more but be able to keep this job that I have in UFC. And I was willing to go out there and do whatever it took to keep that job.
Yeah, man, that's Eric Thomas. He gives that,
Yeah.
He's like, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, that's when you're going to succeed.
For sure. But very few people wouldn't put themselves in that position. Very few people are willing to get to a point that life is so uncomfortable that they want to see what it's like to really go through that kind of pressure.
Yeah, that's what almost nobody does. And to double down on that, I want to say here a little bit, is fighting in and of itself is uncomfortable.
For sure.
The act of a fight, of knowing when and where and who and all of that is uncomfortable. Well, now you're lively. Everything that you've made yourself out to be is riding on the line.
For sure.
And you came through that fight. Who was that fight against?
Ghassan Molotov, a Russian guy.
Where was the fight?
I was in New Jersey.
Yeah.
To make it even worse, that fight in New Jersey, just to set the stage of how bad.
It was Super Bowl weekend, right?
It was Super Bowl weekend, and I was broke. I was trying to internalize it, not vocalize to my coaches or anything. And somehow it all came together. I remember overdrafting my account and pulling out whatever bit of money I have. All right, cool. I got the coach's rooms covered. I had this covered, and I'm good to go.
This is when you overdrafted it, and I heard it, right? And I was like, I'm just going to go stay at my parents' house, right?
Yeah.
I think I was going to the city every night to sleep because I'm like, no, man, we're not overdrafting your account. And yeah, that's a funny story. I forgot about that.
Yeah. And then Eliot was like, I just stay at my parents' house. I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
He was literally taking a train from New Jersey to New York every single night in order to stay at his parents' house, just to make it a little bit more comfortable. I was like, dude, I can't tell you how much of a difference it's going to make fight week to have that one less thing to worry about and have those extra funds just be like, all right, cool. I actually cover my meals this week. I can actually focus on something else other than where my coach is going to sleep. Where is this going to happen? I was actually able to put all that on the back burner and focus on what I had to do at the moment.
People don't realize that all of that goes into fight week.
Yeah.
It's not just fighting.
For sure.
Right? Now you say you like to fight out of the country because that kind of goes away.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
Because how many people call you when you have a fight in Vegas, or the Colorado card coming up in November?
Yeah.
If you were to fight, we don't know. Maybe we'll get that card.
Yeah.
But your life gets way more complicated, right?
Oh, for sure. You have so many people like, hey, I'm coming to watch you fight. Where do I get tickets? How do I do this? How do I do that? And like at the end of the day, I'm a warrior. I can't stop worrying about what other people think.
You're a worrier.
Warrior, not
okay.
Warrior and warrior.
Yeah.
But I tend to worry a lot.
That was that Haitian English.
I tend to worry a lot about how other people are living their lives. And what I mean by that is like if someone's out there to support me, I'm worried about if they're comfortable or not, or if they need anything, if there's anything I can do for them kind of thing. And on fight week, that's something that I should not be focused on. But for some reason, I just can't turn that off. I just can't turn off that worry about, oh, is my wife okay? Is my friend okay? Is my brother comfortable where he's staying at? Like that kind of stuff I just can't turn off. And me being a fighter out of the country where it's just myself and my coaches, it kind of allows me to focus on the task and just like be present in that moment. All I have to worry about is going out there and doing what I love to do. Everything else that I tend to worry about, I'll get back to when I get back home. But at the moment, only thing I have to worry about is going out there and competing.
Nice, man. Let's shift gears a little bit. And talk about something that I just noticed. You know, we were sitting in the office and I noticed this tattoo on the inside of your wrist. And it doesn't say worrier, it says warrior, right? And it's got a couple things on it. Let me see it again. So you said it's got a semicolon for the I, and then it's got the
rainbow at the bottom.
The rainbow at the bottom, the rainbow in dots. Talk to me about what this is to you.
So this tattoo.
How did this come about?
It came about, for those who don't know, last year I lost a brother. I mean, it was a pretty tragic moment for my family and I. And afterwards, I was like, man, how do I remember my brother? How do I think about him and things like that? And my little brother and I came up like, dude, let's just get matching tattoos that can help us remember him and help us remember things that he stood for and what he meant to us or whatever. He came up with this concept of having warrior tattooed on our forearm. And what it comes down to, like, is just the word warrior itself, but the semicolon is really important to us, is the mental health awareness aspect of it. Those of you who don't know, the semicolon represents mental health awareness. And it's one of the things that my brother struggled with. And I watched it really affect his life to the point that it was hard for me to take it in and understand how someone who I grew up with as a child is suffering the way that he is. And a lot of it's going unnoticed. And I made it a point to just be there for other people, be a little bit more understanding. I can remember getting frustrated with my brother at a time because he would do things, react a certain way. And to be honest, he couldn't help it. And now to look back on it, I feel bad about it. I should have had a little bit more patience. I should have been a little bit more understanding. But at the time, I wasn't. So this just kind of serves as a reminder for me to just be that much more patient with people, be that much more willing to lend an ear or a shoulder, whatever it may be for someone else, and not just be absorbed with what's on the outside and what's easy to see. And that's why the mental health aspect of my tattoo was pretty important. The other part of it is the rainbow colors at the bottom of it. My brother who passed away was also gay. And with him being gay, I watched him struggle with a lot of things there too. And I watched him go through gay bashing, which people don't understand or know. It goes on a lot where people tend to see a group of gay people or a gay person and they feel like it's okay to attack them verbally, physically, and just kind of put them down. And I realized that wasn't okay. I realized that you should never treat someone that way based off of anything. And for a majority of people throughout, it's easy to group up together and realize that and find comfort in numbers because you're easily identifiable. For example, if you're a black person, you're getting discriminated against, it's easy for you to find someone who looks like you and group up with them and find strength in that person within numbers. But for a lot of people who are living in this world as gay, it's difficult. Like
your brother was gay and black.
Yeah. It's difficult for you to deal with that because a lot of people are kind of like, oh, wow, I don't want to go there. I don't want to deal with that. And that's just one of those things that allows me to be that much more loving to someone, allows me to go out there and just meet someone, no matter what your sexual orientation is, no matter what your gender identify, no matter what it is, your class, your status, whatever it may be, just go out there and just like feel like, hey, you know what? I'm a person just like you and I can treat you as a human. And the other part of that rainbow is there's a passage in the Bible where after a flood, God provided a rainbow. And part of that passage says that rainbow was to hold on to his promises, represent that like he would never flood the earth again, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of significance in a small tattoo, but it definitely goes pretty deep with me.
So you talk about your brothers and your childhood and that you guys were close. You guys had a kind of difficult childhood, yeah?
Yeah. I grew up in New York City, in Brooklyn, New York at that. The area we grew up in was mainly area we grew up was in Bushwick. And as a kid, I wasn't able to put things together very well. But as I got older and I started realizing things, I started realizing what was going on. So by the time I got to 7th grade, I've been to 8 different schools. And as a kid, I was just like, all right, whatever, we're moving again. But as I got older, I realized that the reason why we were moving so often was because we're getting kicked out. We're getting evicted time and time again. My mother was a single mother who was raising 6 kids, and doing that in New York City is pretty difficult. So there'd be times where we were able to find a place to stay, and life would take its toll. And before you know it, we were a month behind on rent, 2 months behind on rent. And before you noticed, the eviction notices were there and it was time to go somewhere else. So it was just like this constant motion of my mom trying to provide the best way she could for us. And part of doing that was like we had to move a lot in order to have a place to stay.
Do you think that's why you like to help people?
Absolutely. It definitely comes from the reason why I like to help people, because I know for a fact there were nights where I wouldn't have had meals had it not been for someone else stepping up and doing what was right. It didn't matter if they knew me or not. It was just the fact that they saw a struggling family or a struggling young boy and was like, this kid needs a meal, and they made it happen. They didn't care how I got there. They didn't care what my mom did to get there. They just saw what was happening and was like, you know what? I'm in a position to make a difference. I'm going to make a difference.
I think one of my favorite stories about you, Neil, because if you guys, those of you who don't know Neil puts himself last a lot of the time in practice and in a lot of situations in his life. And I think the most touching story is you were on your way to a UFC fight. You stopped at a store on the way to the airport. And you saw a family there that needed some help. And I mean, UFC fights are big deals.
For sure.
They get really fucking mad at you if you don't get on the plane. You know, they want you showing up on time when they think you're showing up.
Yeah.
And you said, it's more important that I take care of these kids right now. Like, whatever. If they cancel my fight, fuck them.
Yeah.
These kids need food and they need school supplies. And I'm going to take care of them. I'm going to miss my flight. I'll call the UFC, tell them I'm going to miss my flight, and have them rebook me another flight.
Yeah, I mean, those are things that stay close. I mean, like...
Did you know these people?
No, not at all. It's just one of those things like, it's not that it's necessarily easy, but for a lot of people, looking around, you'll see motivation everywhere. A lot of people look for like, man, what can I do to make a difference? What can I do to stand out? What can I do to like make a lasting impression on someone? And to be honest, like, I don't think you have to look that far. You just have to look at it through the right lens. Like, you can literally go to the same grocery store and not see a single person who needs help. But you can walk through those same aisles or the very same grocery store, the very same day, the very same hour, and see 3 people who need help, but it'll look differently. You can see that family walking through with 3 kids. It's like, hey, put that back on the shelf. We can't get it today. And you can overhear that. And that could be your opportunity. Like, hey, you know what? I can put something forth to help this person get a meal that will last a bit longer. It could be something as simple as going to 7-Eleven and seeing that there's a mother with a bunch of clothes in her car with the child in the back without any shoes on, and realize like, hey, you know what? This family's probably living out of their car. What if I just threw a couple bucks in the window and she doesn't know it came from me, but her child and her are able to eat that night because they found that couple of dollars they threw in the car. It just goes a long way, just being observant around you and seeing all these opportunities you can make a difference, even if it's something so small.
I think a lot of people don't do it because they're afraid. And what they get afraid of, in my opinion, is their fear turns into anger, which is what it does, right? They want to blame people for the things that they've done in their life to put themselves there.
For sure.
Well, you did this, and that's why you're here. And for you, it doesn't matter.
Me, it doesn't matter.
You don't care why they're there.
Yeah.
All that matters is that they're there and they need help.
For sure.
We'll work on the bigger problems of how did you get there later.
For sure. There was plenty of people who could have sat back and looked at the situation I was in with my mother, and I was like, well, it's her mother's fault. She should have done this or done that. But at the end of the day, there were 6 children who needed a meal that night. And that was what was most important. Had I not gotten a meal that night, maybe life would have turned out slightly different for me. But someone stepped up and just saw the situation that I was in that very moment and said, like, I'm going to help this kid right now. I don't care how he got here. I don't care what yesterday had brought to where he is now, but he's in front of me now. He needs this. I'm going to do it. And that goes a long way. I was able to take those small gestures and make something out of it later on. But had someone not stepped up and done that back then, who knows how it could have turned out.
Yeah, we get too wrapped up sometimes in the bigger picture of things. We want to blame the bum on the street.
For sure.
You did this to yourself. Yeah, maybe. I mean, go ahead. I disagree with that route, that they did this to themselves. Go ahead, take that route. What does that change the fact that the guy's fucking hungry?
Yeah.
And I have $100 in my wallet right now. That, you know what? I need 80 of it for whatever I'm going to go do. Here's $20, man. Let's go get some food.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah, this is the one thing I just can't turn a blind eye to. Like, just seeing people in need of food is something I would never turn a blind eye to. Like, my experiences with fighting, the reason I enjoy traveling and seeing these different things, it goes beyond just like the mental aspect that I'm able to get of it, like where I get that relief where I'm not worried about anyone else as far as friends and family during fight week, but I can focus on the task at hand. But like just the experience and the people I'm able to meet with doing so. Like I can remember being in the Philippines and growing up in the U.S., growing up without much. One thing that at least most people in the U.S. have access to is clean drinking water. I can remember being in the Philippines and walk around with a bottle of water and having a man come out to me and like, hey, can I just have a sip of your water? I'm just like, wait. Water? Like, you want a sip of my water? Of all things, you want water. Like, yeah, take the whole bottle. You can have this whole thing. But that allows you to put things in perspective and see how great your life is or how good your life is, even though you may not be able to see the whole picture. Even though you may look at your buddy who's driving an Audi or Lexus or whatever it may be and feel like, man, my Hyundai Sonata is not enough, or I'm not enough because I don't have the best clothes, whatever it may be. Seeing those kind of things allow you to see just how privileged your life actually is.
Brian Stan said it best, I think, he was my first interview on the podcast, and he said, this is what somebody told him. I don't know how many times I'm probably going to keep telling this story because it was just amazing. He was like, man, one of his superiors told him, Brian, there's somebody out there that is way smarter than you, way tougher than you, just way better than you in every sense of the word better. And all that guy's trying to do is get a drink of water for his kids. That's how little he has, and that's how blessed we've been. And you talked a little bit about you're a believer. You know,
sure.
I'm not necessarily, but we do believe in something greater. I think we share that, you know.
For sure.
For me, what that is, I'll say again, I don't know what that greater thing is, but our job on this earth is to make everyone as blessed as us. That's how I see it.
For sure. And I grew up right behind you said, like, I can actually say that's something I can believe in. Like, though I believe in high power and that kind of thing, like, if I'm not putting it to play, if I'm not actually doing anything while I'm here on earth, just the fact that I believe that, like, oh, well, when I pass, I'll go here because I believe this, that's not enough for me. Like, if I'm not putting in the work or making the actions or putting in that effort, that's not enough for me. Because when I do pass away, and that time's going to come for all of us, what's going to happen then? Like, I can read this from whatever and know that this was going to happen, but how do I really know? And if there's something more that's required of me at that point, like, it's already too late at that point. I'm already headed to the grave, like, you know what I mean? So with my time on earth, I'll make the best with it as possible. If I mess up along the way, so be it. I'll learn from it and try it again. But when the time comes for me to go in the grave, it's not because of lack of effort. It's not because I didn't do everything that I could have. It's because I'm exhausted. Like, there's a funny skit I remember of Eddie Griffin, and he's talking about this guy at a funeral home, and all of his buddies are coming out saying, like, man, he looks good in that coffin. Look at him go. He's like, I don't want to be that, dude. Like, when someone goes to my funeral, I want them to look at me like, damn, this dude, it was time for him to go. Look at him. He lived life. like there was nothing else left for him to do. He did it all. And to be honest, like, that's how I want to go out. Like, I want to go out and know I did everything I could while I was on earth. And there's no doubt in my mind that there was anything left else for me to do.
Your energy bar was zapped, right? You played the game the whole way through. So, fuck yeah, man. As much as I hate traveling with you, I love traveling with you, you know? I can't wait to go to Brazil, you know, and let's go do this. Let's get this job done. I don't know how much longer I'm going to coach fighting, but I know that as long as Neil will have me in his corner, I will be there. You know, like, it will be through his career.
It might be a challenge. How old was Randy Couture? 44?
Yeah. Man, that's on you. You're the one who fired me, you know? So as long as you'll have me, I'm there, you know? For me, not because of the paychecks or the world titles or anything like that. It's the human being that you are, you know?
For sure.
I don't think that in my life that I've known too many better people, you know? I want to say that I don't know too many people in my life who actually practice what they preach, you know? Who miss their flights to a fight, who come back from their fight, and the next day they're in the gym, fixing the gym. Not training, fixing the gym. I see a picture on the internet, you know, on Facebook of people, and I'm home because I'm, like, trying to spend some time with my kids, and there's fucking Neil. And I'm like, he just got punched in the fuck, god damn it, you know? And I feel like a scumbag, you know? But yeah, man, as long as you'll have me, I'm going. So I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you do. For the team, blah, 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 you know, but for humanity in general, you know, you set your beliefs and your actions and your beliefs follow. So best of luck to you. And yeah, man, let's go practice.
Cool. Let's do it.
All right, guys, that's it. Episode 9, Gospel of Fire, Neil motherfucking Magny. Hey guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the Gospel of Fire. Hit me up on my social media at FireMarshal205 on both Twitter and Instagram. Give me a follow at my fan page on Facebook, Eliot the Fire Marshal. Give a subscribe on iTunes, on Stitcher, wherever you're listening. Throw a review up there. Would greatly appreciate it. We'll see you on the next episode.